Hello and welcome back to the HSC Coach. In today's video, we are talking about element 3, managing risks, understanding people and processes. In previous video, we have already covered element 2, element 1, also the NIBOSH IGC new syllabus. If you have not watched that videos, link is given in the descriptions. You just please go and watch that video so that whatever confusion in your mind, you can clear that. Now, in this elements, I will explain you what hazards and risks are, different types of hazards, difference between hazards and risks with examples, practical risks examples, how risk assessments are carried out, how risks are controlled using hierarchy of controls, unsafe packed, unsafe conditions, and also safe system of work and managing change. Element 3 is one of the most important elements for both examinations and real workplace applications. So let us begin step by step. First, we must clearly understand two basic words, hazards and risks. Many safety professionals confuse these two, and NIBOSH often tests this area. A hazard is anything that has the potential to cause harm, injury, or ill health. A hazard by itself does not cause harm unless someone is exposed to it. For example, electricity, working at height, chemicals, moving machinery, noise, or stress. All of these are hazards. Now let us understand risks. Risk is the chance or likelihood that a hazard will actually cause harm, combined with how serious that harm could be. So, risk depends on two things, how likely the incident is and how severe the outcome could be. Let me explain this is in very simple way. Hazard is the source of danger. Risk is the possibility that the danger will actually cause harm. For example, electricity is a hazard. If there is an exposed live wire, the risk of electric shock is very high. If the same wire is properly insulated, the risk becomes low, but the hazard, electricity, still exists. Another example, working at height is a hazard. Working on an open edge without guardrails is high risk. Working with guardrails and a safety harness is low risk. One more example, chemical acid is a hazard. Handling acid without gloves increase the risk of burns. Handling acids with proper PP reduces the risk. So remember this simple line for the exam. Hazard means what can cause harm. Risk means how likely harm will occur. Now let us look at some practical risk example to make this even clearer. Imagine a wet floor. The hazard there is wet floor. The risk is that a worker may slip, fall and get injured. If there is no warning sign, the risk is high. If warning signs are placed and the floor is clear, the risk becomes low. Another example is manual handling. The hazard is a heavy load. The risk is that a worker may suffer a back injury. Lifting without training is high risk. Using mechanical aids and proper training reduces the risk. One more example, a machine with rotating parts. The hazard is the rotating machinery. The risk is that a hand may get caught causing serious injury. Without a guard, the risk is high. With proper guarding, the risk is much lower. These examples show one more important thing. Hazards may remain, but risks can always be controlled. Now let us understand the different types of hazards. There are 5 types of hazards. First one is physical hazard, second one is chemical hazard, next is biological hazard, fourth is ergonomic hazard, and last one is psychological hazards. Now I will explain you each one step by step so that whatever the confusion in your mind will clear that. The first one is physical hazards. So these comes from physical agents or environmental conditions. Like examples include noise, vibration, radiations, extreme heat or cold, and sleep strips falls. These are the examples of physical hazards. Now comes to chemical hazards. What is the chemical hazard? So these occur due to exposure to harmful substances that may enter the body by inhalations, skin contact, or ingestions. Examples like include dust, fumes, vapors, gases, liquids, and solvents. So these are the examples of chemical hazards. Now next is biological hazards. These originate from living organisms like bacteria, viruses, fungi, and blood-borne pathogens. Then we have ergonomic hazards. These results from poor workplace designs or work methods. Examples include like manual handling, awkward postures, repetitive movements, and poor workstation design. And finally is psychological hazards. These affects mental health and well-being. Examples include like work-related stress, fatigue, excessive workload, bullying, and harassment. So these are the examples of psychological hazards. Now let us talk about risk assessment. A risk assessment is a systematic process of identifying hazards, evaluating risks, and deciding suitable control measures. The purpose of risk assessment is to prevent accidents and occupational ill health, identify significant risks, apply effective controls, and meet legal requirements. Risk assessment is central to modern safety management systems such as ISO 45001. Now, let us understand the 5 steps of risk assessment. Step 1 is identifying hazards. This can be done through workplace inspections, task observations, accident and near miss records, manufacturer informations, and worker consultations. Step 2 is identifying who might be harmed and how. This includes employees, contractors, visitors, members of the public, and vulnerable persons. Step 3 is evaluating risks and existing controls. Here we assess likelihood, severity, and review current controls. Step 4 is deciding additional control measures if risks are not adequately controlled. These controls must follow the hierarchy of controls. And last one is step 5 is recording findings and reviewing the risk assessment. Reviews are required after accidents, after changes in work, and periodically. Let me give a simple site example. Imagine working at height on a construction site. First, identify the hazards. So, what hazards we can identify here? So, we can get open edges, risks of fallings, and falling pools. So, these are the hazards we can easily identify on a construction site while working at height. Now, second is identify who might be harms. So, working at height workers, they are in dangers. So, we can identify that one. Workers below, that can be harm, supervisors and visitors. So, these are the persons we have identified that can be harmed. Now, third one is evaluate the risks and existing controls. So, no guardrails, no harness, and risks is high. We have identified these. Now, fourth one is decide controls. Now, we have to decide what are the control measures we can take for this. So, we install the guardrails, provide full body harness, use tool lanyards and supervise the work. So, these are the control measures we can take here. Now, the last one and the fifth one is record and review the risk assessment. So, this is how risk assessment is practically applied on site. Now, let's talk about one of the most important concepts in safety management, which is the hierarchy of controls. The hierarchy of controls is a structure method used to select the most effective risk control measures. It tells us that not all controls are equal. Some controls are stronger and more reliable than others. And that is why controls must always be applied in a specific order. First is elimination, second is substitutions, third is engineering control, fourth is administrative control, and last one is PP. Let's go through each level carefully. The first and most effective control is eliminations. Eliminations means completely removing the hazard from the workplace. If there is no hazard, there is no risk. For example, if a particular activity is too hazardous, stopping that hazardous work completely is eliminations. That is the best solutions because it removes the problem entirely. If elimination is not possible, the next step is substitutions. Substitutions means replacing a hazardous materials or process with something less hazardous. For example, using water-based paint instead of solvent-based paint. The task is still performed, but the level of danger is reduced. Substitutions lowers the risk at its source. If substitution is not possible, we move to engineering controls. Engineering controls are physical changes that isolate people from hazards. This could include machine guards, ventilation systems, or enclosures. For example, installing a guard on a rotating machine prevents direct contact. Engineering controls are very effective because they do not depend on human behavior. Next comes administrative controls. These controls change the way people work. They include procedures, training, work permits, warning signs, and supervision. Administrative control rely on people following rules. They are important, but they are not as strong as eliminations or engineering controls. The last level is personal protective equipment or PPE. This includes helmets, gloves, respirators, safety shoes, and other protective gear. PPE protects the worker from the hazards. But remember this very clearly, PPE is the last line of defense. It does not remove the hazards. It only reduces the impact if something goes wrong. That is why we should never rely only on PPE. Now let us understand this with a real side example. The hazard is cutting steel using an angle grinder. Let's apply the hierarchy step by step. First, eliminations. Instead of cutting steel on size, we can order pre-cut materials from the supplier. This completely removes the cutting hazard. Second, substitutions. If cutting must be done, we can use a low spark cutting tool instead of a grinder. This reduces the level of hazard. Third, engineering controls. We ensure the grinder guard is properly fitted. We install spark shields to protect nearby workers. Fourth, administrative controls. We issue a permit to work. We allow only train operators. We follow a safe work procedures. Finally, PP. The worker must wear a face shield, gloves and safety shoes. You can see clearly how controls are applied in order, from the strongest eliminations to the weakest PPE. This example shows how the hierarchy of controls works in real life. And as a safety professionals, always remember, start from the top of the hierarchy. Work your way down. Never jump directly to PPE. That is how professional risk control is implemented on site. Now let us understand unsafe acts and unsafe conditions. Unsafe acts are actions by people that increase accidents likelihood. Examples include not wearing PPE, bypassing safety devices, and ignoring procedures. So these are the examples of unsafe act. Now let's talk about the unsafe conditions. What is unsafe conditions? So unsafe conditions are hazardous physical conditions in the workplace. Examples include defective equipment, poor lighting, slip-free floors, and missing guards. So these are the examples of unsafe conditions. Most accidents happen due to combinations of unsafe acts and unsafe conditions. Now let us move to an important concept called safe system of work. A safe system of work is a formal procedure that clearly explains how a particular task must be carried out safely. It is used when hazards cannot be completely eliminated. In many jobs, we cannot remove the hazards entirely. For example, we cannot eliminate electricity in electrical work, and we cannot eliminate height in constructions work. So instead of eliminating the hazards, we create a safe methods to perform the task. That structured and documented method is called as safe system of work. Safe system of work may include method statement, permit to work system, standard operating procedures. These documents clearly define the task types, the hazards involved, the control measures required, who is responsible for each actions. So instead of workers doing tasks based on assumptions or habit, they follow a defined and approved procedures. This reduces confusion, prevents shortcuts and improves safety consistency. In simple words, a safe system of work tells workers exactly how to do the job safely step by step. Now let us focus specifically on permits to work, because this is a very important for both exams and real life practice. A permit to work is a formal written system used to control high risk activities. It is not just a piece of paper, it is a control document. It ensures that dangerous work does not begin unless proper safety precautions are in place. Common examples of activities required of permit include hot work, confined space entry, electrical work, work at height. Before such work begins, the permit ensures that hazards are properly identified, control measures are in place, authorizations is given by a responsible persons, the work is monitored. For example, during hot work, the permit will confirm that flammable materials are removed, fire extinguishers are available, and a fire watch is assigned. Without a permit, high risk work can quickly become uncontrolled and dangerous. So remember this clearly. A permit to work is a safety control system, not just paperwork. Now let us talk about something very important which many organizations ignore. That is human factors. Human factors refer to how people interact with their work equipment and systems. Even if we have perfect procedures, accidents can still happen because of human behavior. Human factors directly influence safety performance. Some important human factors include physical capability, mental workload, fatigue, stress, training, and competence. For example, a tired worker is more likely to make mistakes. A stressed worker may ignore procedures. A poorly trained worker may misuse equipment. A worker performing a task beyond their physical capability may get injured. If organization ignore these human factors, accident risks increase significantly. So, safety is not only about machines and systems, it is also about people. Understanding human behavior is essential for preventing accidents. Now, let us discuss another critical topic, managing change. Workplaces are never static, they constantly change, and every change can introduce new risks. Changes may include new equipment, new processes, new materials, new persons. For example, introducing a new machines without training workers can create serious hazards. Changing a chemical without updating safety data sheet can increase exposure risks. Hiring new workers without proper inductions can increase unsafe acts. That is why risk assessment must be reviewed before and after changes. Whenever something changes, safety must be reassessed. If change is not managed properly, accidents becomes more likely. Managing change is not optional, it is a core part of risk management. Let us look at a practical example. Imagine a warehouse that introduces new racking systems. The layout is changed. However, no risk assessment is conducted. Forklift routes are not redesigned. Workers are not given new training. Everything continues as before. After some time, a forklift collides with the new racking system. Goods fall. A worker gets injured. Property is damaged. When the investigation takes place, several failures are identified. The company failed to identify hazards, assess risks, train workers, manage change. This accident was not caused by bad luck, it was caused by poor risk management. This case clearly shows why proper planning, assessment, and controls are necessary whenever changes occur. Safety is not automatic, it must be managed carefully and systematically. Now, these are the exam practice questions for you. You have to tell what is the hazards and risks with examples, explain the difference between hazard and risks, describe the 5 steps of risk assessment, explain the hierarchy of controls with examples, and what are the difference between unsafe packed and unsafe conditions. So these are the 5 questions you have to write down on your notes or books, or you just remember what you have learned from this element 3. If you give the answers of each of these questions, it means that you have clearly understand this element 3. If you have any questions or any doubt regarding this element 3, you can comment below. Together with element 1 and 2, this element forms the practical foundations of effective health and safety management. Thank you for watching. I will see you in the next element.